are couples who are in their 70s, 80s, wanting a divorce now, and you always wonder why. Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about another very, very interesting topic relating to divorce and matrimonial disputes.
Okay, so we're just going to explore the grounds for divorce now, ranging from adultery to mutual agreement. So maybe I ask for you first. What are the trends that you observe in Malaysia for couples to argue, their reasons for divorce?
So I think in Malaysia, our law is still that you have to prove that the marriage has irretrievably broken down, and we call it the fault-based divorce. So you have to, of course, the grounds are in the legislation, but in layman's terms, you have to say somebody has done something wrong that has sort of destroyed the marriage. And of course, one of the grounds quite commonly used is adultery, or sometimes people will say they are intolerable to live with. So these are some of the grounds that people will use.
Actually, I think it's the same in Singapore as well. I mean, for us, it's one ground, irretrievable breakdown of the marriage, but 6 reasons.
Yep.
So, ranging separation, desertion, and unreasonable behavior. So, in the past, before July 2024, it was fault-based as well. So,
Yeah.
we have to put evidence or put particulars in the papers that are more fault-based, right? And somebody has to admit fault, right?
Yeah.
But with the advent of mutual agreement as a new reason for divorce, that came into play 1st July 2024. I mean, we've yet to see the statistics, but that is quite a viable alternative that people don't want to point fingers anymore.
Yeah. So I think just to make myself clearer, I think we are the same. The only ground is you have to prove that the marriage has irretrievably broken down. But similarly, you have all the reasons why has it broken down.
So when would you recommend the mutual agreement route? Because I understand that's the joint petition route.
Yeah. So like I said, usually we'll advise a client to see what are the potential issues in dispute. So if both parties agree to a divorce, that's like one big hurdle is cleared. Then of course, secondly, children, arrangements relating to children, custody, your guardianship, maintenance, all these things. And then you will have your spousal maintenance. Another one of the big items will be the matrimonial assets. So if really they can agree to all these things, then we'll just say, just go ahead with your joint petition. It's faster and it's save more time and costs. But of course, there are times where they are not agreeable to some of the things. Then I would just tell them, this is a law. If you go to court, this is likely what you are going to get. But to get there, what is required? And then, then the client has to decide whether it's sort of like worth the fight.
Okay, so just to clarify, you don't have like a stage 1 and stage 2 like us, right?
No.
Because I actually, as you were speaking, I was wondering whether you could just solve the divorce by mutual agreement, joint petition, and then move on to the ancillary matters. That's the way we would do it in Singapore. So you have to agree absolutely everything from the beginning. Oh, okay. Because for us, we split it into 2 parts. So we can actually agree on the divorce, that we don't love each other anymore, we want to go our separate ways. But we might have differences with the children and maintenance, and we can talk about that a bit later.
Right.
And we go through mediation for that. So, I mean, for me, I do encourage parties nowadays to do the mutual agreement route because it is now available. And last time we used to have this very artificial thing where actually they don't, both sides have done things that are not so nice to each other. And neither side actually wants to point fingers at each other, right? Because if you point finger, then other people will point finger back at you, right? So it was very artificial that we would have to structure something that was not so acrimonious, but enough so that it would pass the legal test. So it's very, very artificial. And I never liked doing that. So I believe that actually there are many reasons why relationships break down. And some of it can be expressed in words and some of it cannot be expressed in words. So it's very difficult to pinpoint one single reason or maybe three reasons that you put down in a divorce document, right? And that's why I actually welcome the no fault mutual agreement route. And all these like hurts and why not, why didn't it work out? Could I have done something better? Could he have done something better? These things are better explored in a counseling room. For closure purposes rather than a courtroom, because a courtroom is all about evidence, right? And it's like, how are you ever going to prove that this person did what he did when you didn't actually, when you're in a relationship, you're not capturing evidence from each other in that way, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it reminds me of that movie Marriage Story. I always tell everybody, if you want to do divorce law, lawyers, please go and watch that movie.
I actually haven't watched it.
You should.
Okay.
I think it's so real. And I think what we experience as lawyers, clients tend to also treat us like a counselor. But I must tell them very honestly that I cannot decide for you. I think sometimes as human beings, right, you need that one person to hold your hand through this very, very difficult process. And you tend to rely on your lawyer, firstly, because you pay them. And of course, you think they know best. But I think as much as we can advise you on the law, I can tell you, I say, this is in court to prove adultery. This is what you need, But at the end of the day, the judge is going to decide. Then this is probably how much you are going to get. Then it still comes back to the client to decide: do I want to pursue this route? Do I want to pursue this fight? Does it? Is it really worth it? Is it worth my time to? And it's not just the time; it's also like the physical and the emotional stress that you have to undergo if you want to pursue certain things in court. Yeah.
I mean, my favorite line to my clients about this, right? I mean, I can hold your hand because I have seen many couples, and as family lawyers, right, we've probably seen hundreds, thousands in our careers of different kinds of breakdown of the marriages, right? And I guess that's a conversation for another day. What's the most common thing that we experience? But for me, I will always tell them that I'm only a quack doctor. I'm not trained. I'm not a trained counseling professional. So as much as I can listen to all your grievances, my mind is only thinking about how I can use this in trial or how I can use this in an affidavit, right? And what, or do you have WhatsApp to back up what you're saying? My mind is not about, helping you to heal. Although I will be able to tell you with my experience that the sooner you drop certain things or you resolve certain things in yourself, the easier it is to move forward with co-parenting, with your life after the divorce and all that. I can only share with you to that point. I cannot really share with you, explore with you your family of origin and why, certain things happen. I'm sure there must have been a reason why you are here today, before me, right? But it's I always tell people I'm a quack doctor. I really think that and I always have a list of counseling professionals to refer clients to, because I think that's probably the best avenue. Where I and family lawyers are concerned, we just want to get the divorce over that hump into court, that hump into getting an order of court for you, because to us, I feel order of court is a form of closure also. Yeah. So, okay, I just wanted to delve a little bit more into the topic of adultery, because I think there is some cultural difference between Singapore and Malaysia in that point, right? But I do find that there are many spouses who catch their other halves having extramarital relationships, and then they, there's first the shock, and then there's the denial, and then there's the anger, and these are all very normal emotions, very normal. Not trying to downplay it at all. I'm sure it is a very shocking thing when someone you love doesn't you trust doesn't live up to your expectation and what you think of him or her. So, but then when you come to us as divorce lawyers, right, and you are like, okay, I insist, I must file the divorce on the ground of adultery. Do you think there is some cultural background there that I'm not seeing, that they, why is it that some Malaysian spouses are very, very adamant on going on adultery?
I think definitely cultural difference, or perhaps it's also about the law, or I don't know, or is it that how media portrays divorce to be? Then they will think that then might think this is like the only way for me to get a divorce. I'll talk about more later about what is it that the court requires for you to prove the adultery, but it is not that easy. But why people want to do it, I do not have an answer. But I can share with some cases that I've encountered before, where I honestly don't know whether this is like a Chinese things, because the few experiences that I had, at least they've come to me, they are Chinese, and I think there's some truth to it. And people might think that divorce only happens in young couples because nowadays we don't view marriage
Takes marriage as seriously as our
yeah.
elders, is it?
But
Okay.
to our audience, I can tell you, no, we have had couples. I'm sure you've experienced it. They've come
Young,
for-
middle age, old, all kinds.
there are couples who are in their 70s, 80s, wanting a divorce now, and you always wonder why. And I can tell you, these people, some of them come to tell us that because he is having an affair. And then when you try to ask more questions, you find that actually this thing has been happening in the past 20, 30 years. And then, this is where there's a slight problem. I can tell you why. Because in terms of the law, remember just now I said that the marriage you have to show that the marriage has broken down irretrievably. And then you have to show that the adultery, if this is the adultery is the ground, right? You have to show that because of the adultery, you find it intolerable to live with him anymore. But
If you've lived 20, 30 years,
Correct.
knowing this,
so you see that then the issues will arise. The issues will arise where the spouse will say, no, you know this,
you
right?
know all along I have a second family.
Correct. And
Yeah.
it's like you have been condoning this. So then what do? Then you will find that some of the cases or some lawyers, what we do is that then you sort of drop to the second tier, is to say that this is an unreasonable behavior. But this is very technical. But anyway, my point is that a very interesting observation that I want to make is that then I'll ask, why do you only come to court now? Why do you only come to see a lawyer now? Why do you only want a divorce now? Because you know that he has a girlfriend in the past, don't know how many years. And then I can remember, and this is not like one particular case, and it actually a few cases like this, right? They're from different states in Malaysia. But most that I've seen are Chinese background.
Okay.
It's the last straw is always when the husband started flaunting the relationship. So, for example, the wife knew that the husband had this second wife or girlfriend outside for the longest time. She even knew that he bought a house for her or those kind of things. But the husband sort of kept it quiet, like never really, he never really brought the girlfriend out to tell the world. But like one day, there's this particular case, the husband allowed this girlfriend to use their family car.
Then it
Yeah.
no longer is you cannot be in denial about this relationship anymore.
Yeah, perhaps it's a denial thing.
Yeah.
Or perhaps again it's a face thing,
Yeah.
Chinese all face all the time, right? So the wife felt like, how can you embarrass me? Now people are going to ask me, or if we go to family function, people are going to ask, who is this person? You are no longer treating me as like the legal wife in the family. So this is like some interesting observation that I had.
Actually, I also have the same observation. I mean, I do tell clients that if you have discovered the affair and if he's still keeping it quiet, I actually think that there is still some shame attached to that relationship. And if there is some shame, you can still go to counseling and try and say, and uncover that shame and then use whatever goodwill or, in your relationship to try and repair and reconcile. But when the relationship is already being flaunted outside, right, it's very difficult to revise. And then that's when I will start to tell wives, mostly wives actually, to say that, okay, look, stop being in denial. The reality is this: he's already carried on, he's already moved out, and everybody knows the girlfriend and not you. So therefore, then let's be real. Let's talk about real options and your real options. And sometimes it's for them to come to that acceptance. So it's a bit of a cycle, there's the anger, the denial, then the acceptance, right? So that's how I would deal with clients who have discovered extramarital relationships. But I agree with you. The law is very much the same in Singapore as well. If you've lived with this relationship for 20, 30 years, then I will find it very difficult in court to argue that you find it intolerable to live with him. And our law does say that the evidence has to be valid for the last 6 months from discovery.
I see.
Yeah. So whether it's unreasonable behavior or adultery, I need to have particulars that are within 6 months, 6 months of filing. So for example, if it's March now, then you cannot have discovered this extramarital relationship 2 years ago, because then you lived with it. You never confronted him about it. Unless you're saying you confronted him about it, you gave him a chance, and he said he will never see this person again. But then later on, more recently, like during Chinese New Year, you found out that he's seeing this person again, then okay, then we structure the pleadings in this way, right? So this is why you come to a family law specialist, because we see enough of these documents, right? We know how to do it in a way that would pass muster in court, right? So let's talk about adultery under Singapore law. Adultery is actually only one of the 6 reasons for divorce. Any reason will do. It doesn't mean that you will get more money. It doesn't mean that you may get more time with the children, or you can restrict your spouse from having time with the children. It doesn't mean anything at all. It just is that hump that you need to get over to dissolve the marriage. That's all. And you're not going to get, you will be compensated if you hire a PI, and you can prove adultery, you will be compensated those costs, those legal costs of hiring the PI, getting your lawyer to prove adultery. But you're not going to get like few $100,000 or lots of damages because you have proven that he has an affair or she has an affair. Okay, so I really, really want to get that straight, and that so I hope that clients who view this, right, or potential the audience that views this, right, they don't have this idea that you're going to have some kind of windfall if you catch somebody out.
Yeah, I think in Malaysia, what is the advantage or benefit? It's just quite similar. It doesn't help you to get, say, the custody. It doesn't help you to get extra access. Why I say this is because even in a situation where you want to, so in Malaysia, we can talk about this in another episode about custody, right? Custody of the child. There's a presumption under our law that a child below 7 years old, it's presumed that the custody should be given to the mother, unless the father can prove that the mother is an unfit mother. And we have seen cases where the father tried to use adultery as a ground to say, because she's having another relationship with someone else, she's unfit. But even in those situations, the court says no. The court actually says she might not be a good wife, but she can still be a good mother. So that's how the court will view custody. But my point of bringing this up is that, if you think that getting evidence or trying to prove adultery just to deny someone access to the child, no, the court is not going to entertain, because the court views it's more important for the child to see both parents. So that's first part. And second part, whether by proving adultery, whether you're going to get more assets, more maintenance, and all those things, I can tell you it doesn't affect the assets at all. So in Malaysia, you can sue the third party. You can name the third party as a co-respondent in your petition. And then at the end of the day, the court has the power to order the co-respondent to pay you damages. But you also have to remember, because I mean, offline we're just talking about it. Why do people really want to nail this third party down? I know there's an emotional aspect to it. People, or whether it's wife or the husband, they might think that I have been wronged, I've been betrayed. So I want like justice in court.
I want consequence.
Yes, I want them to be punished. But let me tell you, the law only says that whatever damages the court is ordering the correspondent to pay, it is actually just to compensate what you have suffered. It actually says very clearly in the law that it doesn't serve as a punitive thing, right? It is not meant to punish anybody. So yeah, so I hope that the audience can understand this. And because it is not so easy to prove adultery, in the past we have seen cases. Again, this is very technical. Clients will come and ask. I'm sure client will come and ask you, what do I need to prove adultery? Do I literally have to catch the person in the bed, or is just some WhatsApp messages? Would it be sufficient? What's the?
I think it's a really case by case basis. I mean, you can prove adultery with PI videos following them into the room, right? Or you can have some text messages that prove that they are in a relationship, an intimate relationship. So I think those are enough. But I don't know what is the utility of proving, because I mean, if that is the easiest way to get a divorce, then okay, so be it, right?
Right.
But if you want to go to great lengths, spend a lot of money on PIs and do that, you ask yourself, is it because you need to prove something in court, or is it because you need your own emotional closure? And is that emotional closure better served by a counseling professional helping you?
Yeah,
more than trying to do this thing in court. Maybe it's just the wrong forum, it's the wrong place to be looking. What are you exactly looking for? Also, since proving adultery in court, right, doesn't really lead to any financial benefit for anyone, would you say that this encourages unfaithfulness in marriages? Because I mean, we have to recognize people's behavior adjusts to what the rule is. So I was giving you the example that if the law says that you can drive at 150, then people will drive at 150 and not be wrong, right? But if the law now says that you can only drive at 60, then people will have to drive at 60. If not, they will be wrong, right? So, or they would have broken the law. So I do have a lot of clients that actually come to me and say that the law is unfair when they cannot punish their spouse for adultery, because they entered into this relationship in good faith, that they love somebody, that they want to build a future and a life together. And when this person is not as genuine as them, right? Of course, people get hurt, people get disappointed, and their expectations are not met. So they feel that there should be some consequence for this person not meeting these expectations, and that it takes two hands to clap, right? So if the two hands came together and the other hand was actually not very genuine, then that person should be punished for that, for betraying that relationship. And I think there are some people who genuinely have invested time, youth, money. They may have bought joint properties together. They may have given this person a huge sum of money to start a business, right? So there really is some consequence to that. So would you say that it is a little bit unfair in that sense, that adultery is leads to no financial benefit in the end?
I think, well, I mean, first of all, the law is what it is. But again, you still find people trying to break the law, even if there's a speed limit. So I do not think that the law can stop people from betraying someone else. It's not that. And for me, most importantly, what I will tell my client is that really what, like you said earlier, what gives you the closure? If you think this is really the route that you want to pursue, you think that by getting this person coming to court, you feel that's a justice to you, then yeah, you can. But ultimately, what are the costs involved to do all these things? Like I said, because it is not so easy to prove adultery, at least in Malaysia, in court. We've seen cases having the judge have a different standard. Of course, one of the most recent cases, the judge did say that it should just be a normal standard, a balance of probabilities, meaning to say that you don't have to catch them like doing certain acts. So in that particular case, the judge saw evidence including some emails or texts about the husband and the then girlfriend and the girlfriend, and then they even went to some IVF clinics together. Even though if I remember correctly, they did not have a child, but evidence show that they were planning to have a child. So the court says that that's sufficient. But again, I think it is also a very case by case basis. The normal evidence that the clients will have will be some kind of messages. Of course, I think the more concrete evidence will be, you have like the receipt and going to the same, checking in the same hotel, they are making the same trip together. We've seen these are quite normal. But at the end of the day, how much you're going to get, the court will also look at how long is your marriage, and then how long this their relationship has been, and how has the relationship impacted the marriage. And earlier you also talked about what kind of benefits do people get by bringing adultery up. I think I've seen there are times clients bring up the issue of adultery because they don't want their children to see the new girlfriend or even the new boyfriend. So they will try to say that, you shouldn't allow the other the spouse to have overnight access because the child is going to stay with the new partner. So, but again, the court, it's not a conclusive evidence. The court will definitely say that, okay, because of this, the court would deny the father or the mother who is now having a new partner the access or even custody. At the end of the day, custody or access is very much dependent on the child, what's best for the child.
So, I mean, for me, I am a big proponent of prenuptial agreements because I do think that the law only can provide the minimum parameters, right? And the safety net in that sense. Okay, it does provide for custody, and certain, like for example, you were saying in Malaysia, children below the age of 7 which should go to the mom unless unfit mother. So the law does provide some of these minimum parameters, right? But it is always open to parties to contract, right? To sign an agreement with each other to meet those expectations that they may have that are unique in their relationships and in their cases. So I actually don't understand why prenups are not more popular as they are in Asia. And I would definitely encourage that, especially in this age where people can come to me and say that they have these unmet expectations, that they are very disappointed, right? So you do, before you enter into a relationship, before you enter into a marriage, you can actually sit down and say, okay, if this happens and we have to plan for the worst, right? In businesses or shareholders agreements, we plan for the worst as well. So if this happens, then, A, B, C should happen. And if that happens, then X, Y, Z should happen. So these are very real conversations that I think couples should have with each other before marriage, as opposed to, we're in love, and I know it's very hard because we're all in love, and then we just want to get married and all that, and then you land yourself in this situation and you don't expect the worst, right? That comes out of it. And people can be very ugly as time goes past.
I mean, I think for us, the straightforward answer is that our prenup, it's not automatic. You can't contract many issues. For example, if it's related to children, that's something the law says that you cannot agree on certain, like on custody and all those things. So that's definitely one consideration that parties have to think about. And people will, we've seen people always try to argue out of the contract to say that, so the court have to look at it very seriously. When did the party agree to these agreements? again, that warrants another episode for us to talk about on prenups or postnups, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you for watching, and we'll explore more topics in the next episode.
See you.